Hi everyone, welcome to this bonus episode of Sexual Assault Survivor Stories, the SASS Podcast. This is episode 66, and I'm pleased and excited to bring you an important announcement of an upcoming free workshop series being offered by my good friend and former SASS guest, Arci Grey. Arci called me out of the blue this week and told me that she had decided to offer a 3-part workshop entitled Breaking the Invisible Barriers of Trauma. She explained to me that she decided to do this in large part because of the feedback she's gotten from listeners of this podcast. Several of you have heard Arci's and other episodes that have helped so many of you dealing with the impact of trauma that inspired her to help further the healing process through a trauma-informed workshop series. And she graciously is allowing me to help spread the word about the free workshop. She also allowed me to record the phone conversation, and instead of me explaining everything, I asked her to tell you about it. Here's Arci. Arci, tell us about it.
Hello, Dave Markel. So someone reached out to me actually who had heard your podcast and had just expressed so much gratitude for hearing the podcast. And that was just this incredible thing to know that we're not alone. She felt like she wasn't alone. She felt like there were other people experiencing what she experienced. And that's not the first conversation I've had from people from your podcast and also from Jan Broberg's group. You introduced me to Jan, and it's just been this avalanche of amazing since being on your podcast and having that platform to be able to connect with so many people that are experiencing, unfortunately, terrible things. But on the bright side of it is this platform for me to be able to reach them, for other survivors to be able to reach each other. So after speaking with her, after speaking with a few people from your podcast, your listeners, as well as Jan Broberg's Thriveivers community, I was hearing a lot of the same things. I was hearing the same struggles, the same symptoms, the same problems, and also the same barriers to getting help. A lot of people were expressing to me that they had gone to therapy for years and it didn't help, how they felt disconnected. They were expressing to me how other people, like in their family, they were trying to explain what they were experiencing to other people around them, and people who hadn't experienced trauma just couldn't understand. I just kept hearing these same things over and over. All they want to do is heal. All they want to do is get better. All of the traditional outlets that people are told, oh, go to therapy, okay, get medication, get your diagnosis, talk to your friends, talk to your family, weren't working for them. It was so hard for me to hear that and so frustrating because it reminded me of where I was a few years ago, where I had the same problems, where I was like, why doesn't anybody get this? Why do I feel so left out? Why do I feel like I'm working twice as hard as everyone else and I'm only getting half as far? Hearing all that and reminding me of all that, and me looking back at my own journey and my own progress that I had made, that inspired me to take one of my programs that I offer for people that I do one-on-one coaching for, that I know unfortunately is not accessible to a lot of people. I know that it's cost prohibitive. I needed to make this available to everyone. I needed to remove the barrier of entry. I needed to make sure that everyone had the resources that they needed to start healing, not just coping, not just feeling a little bit better about what happened, but actually moving forward. So I guess the culmination of all of this big, giant, exciting explanation, it's the beginning of the new year. You can hear the smile in my face. But I am so excited about this. I finally created a workshop that is for these people, is for your people, it's for Jan's people, it's for this community of people that need a fresh start. They need to start healing and they need to do it the right way. It's for the people who are sick and tired of going through the motions and it's not working. That's what this is. It's a 3-part workshop series. It's a video series. I'm going to be releasing it next week, but it's going to be out there. It's going to be evergreen. So if you can't attend live, that's okay. It's going to be recorded so everybody can get something out of it. It's a 3-part series, and we're going to talk about a lot of things, actually. Dave, I'm really proud of this. We're going to talk about hope and healing and what life looks like after trauma, not with trauma, but after trauma. Who are you minus trauma? I'm going to go deep on the dark side, and I'm going to talk about just a lot of the surprising things that I never knew were trauma symptoms. I thought they were just me and who I was, a damaged, dumb, clumsy, fumbling person. I thought I was just bad at life. I thought that all these things that were just coming up, I just believed that's who I was. And I'm going to go down the list and reveal all these things that I learned that are actually trauma symptoms that we think are other problems. We think that we suck at life, when in fact that it could be caused by our trauma. So I get to do a deep dive on that. And a big part of that is taking inventory of figuring out who we're supposed to be. If we subtract trauma from our life, what are these other problems that will literally just disappear? And then the super fun part of the workshop, which is good, I'm super excited about it. It's my favorite part of anything I ever teach. And it's literally what I did that changed everything for me. It's the 5 steps that I took to get my shit together after trauma. It's how I went from literally living one crisis to the next. I don't know who's listened to the podcast episode I did with you in my story, but when you survive almost murder, you know something has to change. A switch kind of goes off in your brain. So in the third part of the workshop, I am going to talk about post-traumatic growth and what it really means to turn pain into purpose, how to actually shut off the pain, how to stop the trauma cycle, how to regain control of our lives, and actually how to find what it is you're supposed to be doing and how to live that life. I'm really excited about it because it's my way to give back. I get to be the person that I wish I had.
That sounds amazing. I'll direct people back to your episodes on this show because you talk about how important it was for you to learn the difference between your brain and your mind.
Yes.
You talked a lot about that, and I'm guessing that that's part of what this workshop is going to be.
It is. Here's a key insight. The workshop is heavily focused on this premise. It's kind of built on this foundation. And I think if people understand this nugget that I'm about to drop, that shift in perspective, it sort of takes the blinders off. It takes away tunnel vision. Trauma is not psychological. Trauma is neurological. And what that means is it is not something that is happening in your mind. When we say mental health, it's kind of a misnomer. It's not really about our thoughts and feelings. It's actually about what's happening in your brain and your body. And once you understand what that is and how to address it, how to actually make those shifts and changes, all the negative thoughts and the feelings and all the symptoms, they kind of just disappear. And I know that sounds all like woo-woo and magic and whatever. It just is.
Well, it is. I totally, I know what you're talking about. And I'll just drop a few little nuggets to kind of entice people to tune into your workshops. And that is what Arci is talking about in the difference between what's going on in your brain and what's going on in your mind is that when you encounter those traumatic experiences, as you said, trauma isn't in the mind, it's in the brain. It's what your brain does biologically, releasing chemicals and those electrical impulses. And it's all built into the way we are made and what our brains are supposed to do. It's what we do with it afterwards that makes the big difference. And I think that's what you're talking about here and what you're going to address in these workshops. Am I right?
1,000%. Absolutely. 1,000%. Yeah, it is. It's what's going on in our brain. And the difficult part of experiencing trauma is it definitely feels like something is happening to us. When we're having these symptoms and these thoughts, like catastrophizing thoughts or intrusive thoughts or anxiety or complete overwhelm and shutdown, it feels like something outside of our control. We experience our life through our thoughts and our feelings. That's how we experience our life. But there's this other entity that is the control panel for everything. It's your brain and your nervous system. And it feels like we don't have control over that. We don't have control over when we get butterflies. We don't have control over when we get goosebumps. We don't have control over when we are hungry or whether our heart beats or not. Our brain does these things for us. And when they're unpleasant, it feels like it's doing it to us. I'm going to take some really deep neuroscience and I'm going to break it down so that it's simple, so everybody can understand it. And really, more importantly, I'm going to give them legitimate, actionable steps that they can walk away with and feel better immediately. Anyone can do.
I'm so excited to be a part of getting the word out for this workshop. And I appreciate you and I appreciate all you're doing. And I know my listeners do, obviously, because they've told you this podcast has helped get your message out and your story and the healing process that you're going through, that you are willing to share with others in a format that's absolutely free. I'm so thankful for you. Thanks for calling me and letting me help get the word out.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. I mean, I am telling you, the avalanche of doors that have opened and people that have come to me just from your podcast alone has been incredible. I try and keep you in the loop every time somebody reaches out. I'm like, Dave, another one called me. So I want people to know that I'm here and that I need to make sure that you are getting the appreciation and love that you deserve because you have created a platform for people that, I mean, it's just I don't even have words for it. It's just this massive opportunity, no matter what end of it you're on, whether, it's a guest being able to tell their story or someone on the other end hearing it. You really need to know how important it is, what you do, and how absolutely grateful I am. And I can speak for some of your audience because they called me and told me just how absolutely grateful they are to have found your podcast and to know that they're not alone and that there is hope.
Thanks, Arci. I really appreciate you sharing that with me and with the rest of the audience that's listening to this now. It's just encouragement for you to hit that subscribe button, rate this show, and tell other people. Everyone you know needs to be a part of the Sexual Assault Survivor Story podcast. Thank you so much for being part of that family, Arci, and for reaching out to me in this phone call and letting me share this really great news about your workshops that you're putting on. We'll get the word out. We'll make sure you've got plenty of listeners.
Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you. A million thank yous. Absolutely. And I'm excited. I'm really excited for people to just be part of this. I can't wait to meet everyone. I'm hoping to see some familiar faces from some people that maybe I've chatted with who are your listeners. And I'm really excited to meet just all the new people.
Yeah,
and
excellent.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm so excited. So
I am too. For my listeners, do read the episode notes because that's where these links will be.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Arci. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
That does it for this bonus episode of Sexual Assault Survivor Stories, the SASS Podcast. I want to give a huge shout out to Arci Grey for calling me and letting me help her get the word out about her generous offer of a totally free workshop series that starts next week. It's for anyone and everyone who's experienced interpersonal trauma and is looking for a trauma-informed approach to healing. As I mentioned, take a look at the notes for this bonus episode, number 66, and you'll find the link where you can sign up for Arci's workshop series. As I mentioned, it's free, so there's nothing to hold you back. I also encourage you to listen to Arci's past episodes. I've posted those links in the notes also. Don't forget to tune in again this coming Tuesday as I bring you another sexual assault survivor story in our regular format. And please remember to hit the subscribe button for this podcast on the platform you're listening to right now if you haven't already. Thank you again for listening in. It's listeners like you that are helping bring justice to victims and survivors of rape and sexual assault just by tuning in. And don't forget to start by believing, because we all know someone whose life has been affected by rape or sexual assault. We'll see you on Tuesday.